Today on Something to Talk About, we're celebrating fathers, but on the show today we'll also include one son who makes his father proud by doing something kids his age aren't doing, and then one man whose father figure shaped his life and helped him see that non-traditional fatherhood also shaped good men. That's all ahead on Something to Talk About. Good day to you, and thank you for coming and joining us on Something to Talk About. And we have got a show for you, and we've got a table full of food. We're at King's into Mooning. We got the Chesed platter, which apparently is the most popular thing among the guests for Something to Talk About. And of course, our fruit platter. The stars of the show today are a father and son duo, and then we've got an exceptional father, like I said, raised by a stepfather, which this method sure has a place in our society, doesn't it? I want to introduce to you first, I've known him for about 30 seconds. His name is Robert Cruz. How old are you?
I am 12.
12 years old, and his father is Bert Cruz from Magana Heights, right? Sinahanya. I met them on my radio program, actually, because I saw the testimony on Bill 318, which was the Municipal Planning Council bill. And then I sort of put out a shout out like, who is this kid's father? And then Bert, thank goodness, was able to get us on the radio and introduce himself. And I said, I got to meet this kid because you're doing something that a lot of kids aren't doing your age. You're making things move, right? A little bit.
Sort of runs in the family.
Does it really? Tell me about what moves you. What is it? First of all, why don't you first tell me like where you go to school and what grade you're in and all that?
Oh, I go to Agata, and next school year I'm going to be 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. Okay, you're 7th grade, and you already have been involved in a lot of the community and things and community issues, right? In Sinahanya and elsewhere.
Yes.
What are you involved in? What moves you? What are the issues that move you?
Well, as I said, it runs in my family. Coastal cleanup.
Okay, coastal cleanup. You've been involved in that?
Yes, multiple times. There's a lot. That sort of motivates me to try and help the community with all that junk on the beach. Kind of irritates me sometimes when I go to the beach.
Yeah.
And then there's stuff like the hotel that's trying to be built in Bravo Bay. That's sort of what I focused on the testimony.
Yeah. Are you for it or against it?
The hotel, I am very much against it.
Okay. What is it about that project that you don't like?
There's so many hotels that are on beaches, and there are people like me and my dad who we go to the beach to have fun. I go to the beach to escape buildings, to have fun outside.
Yeah.
Putting a hotel would make it super crowded. It would ruin the view. And it would close it off to the public, and so that only the rich could afford to go to the beaches.
Okay, good points. Yeah. Are you an environmentalist? Would you say a little bit of an environmentalist?
I'm not sure what that is.
Well, it's a person who is always in support of the environment, like the land and the oceans.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, coastal cleanup. You participated in that numerous times.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what was it about Bill 318 that you were trying to support the bill, right? You want the Municipal Planning Council to have more say in development in your village or on Guam?
It's something that a sign said that was given to me that made me sort of really like it. Mm-hmm. It was a list saving our island, checked off, and then it said um, special interest, so like with cash signs on it. I was X'd out, and then the law was saying that the people have a say on what is built in their village.
Yeah.
And that's something that should have been going on for a long time.
More people in the community should say what's in there, what they want in their villages.
Because the government, they work for us.
Good point. Sometimes I think we forget that, huh? Sometimes I think the government leaders forget that they work for us, don't
They
you think?
abuse their power too much.
And abuse their power. Well, spoken like a true politician. Does that interest you, politics?
Politics, I hate politics.
Dude, I'm with you. All right. But I'm 56. How come you hate it at 12?
All of this, that, it all costed money.
Yeah.
We don't need money to do this. We could just have it and just do our part in the community. I have talks like that with my dad a lot.
Yeah. Bert, so you've created this. You've created this one. Talk to me about your son.
Rob.
He's drinking coffee, by the way. Apparently, he makes a mean cup of coffee. Do you really?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Well, this guy's awesome. You asked him if he would describe himself as an environmentalist.
Yeah.
I definitely would. He's assisted in so many different things. I've lost count already on the amount of cleanups he's gone to, the amount of different places he's gone to recycle. If you go to my house, you'll see that the streets around it are fairly clean because my son and my daughter, they'll ride their bikes, they'll go around. Just last night with a trash bag, and when they see trash, they're picking it up. And it's not to make a statement for others, it's to make a statement for themselves. That's what I try and teach them.
How much of an influence did you have over that? I mean, when they were younger, growing up, you obviously instilled, some of these values in them.
I got to be very honest with you. I credit most of this to my wife's family, the Rosario clan. Rocky Rosario, he's extremely active with anything environmental. He's the one that put us in touch with Linda Tatro. He's the one that put us in touch with Peggy Denny. He's the one that put us in touch with Joni Kerr. So we know them fairly well. We see them all the time. We go on hikes with them. We're active with them.
Okay.
So, yeah. And this guy, he's always there at all the events. And now that my daughter's getting older, she'll be hopefully following in his footsteps.
Yeah. How long do you think you could keep this going? I mean, you're inspired, obviously, by, you said it runs in your family, so you're inspired by people before you who have taught you the value of, a clean environment and participating in your community and having a say. Is this going to take you all the way to something eventually? What is it you plan on doing when you become of, age to get a job, or what are you looking for?
I hope to make this a lifelong thing, like to become a marine biologist, to study what we're doing as humans, making all these buildings and then cars, which is polluting. I want to see what that is doing to our sea life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do they teach enough of this stuff in school?
No.
Oh, no. Where do they fail? What do they need to improve on?
Lots of things. Lots and lots of things.
Yeah.
Once again, this is a conversation that I've had with my dad multiple times. School doesn't really teach you what it should teach you on this island. Mm-hmm. It teaches you about chemicals.
Mm.
What I've been learning in school is physical science.
Yeah. You think that they should teach more like marine science, something that you can relate to because you live on an island? Yeah, you'd like to see them probably put in the curriculum, more of some sort of sentiment that we have to take care of our island, right? Yeah.
I mean, they're talking about windmills.
Yeah.
Windmills, it's illegal to build close to a windmill.
Right.
And Guam is so small. Why are we learning about that?
Well, that's a good point. How do you tell your teacher that? Well, you're going into seventh grade now. You found your voice. You have a voice. Are you able to tell your teachers that?
It depends on how I feel about it. Because my sixth grade teacher, I respected him. He could talk about this island, but he was forced to teach what was in the book.
So maybe it will have to be a little bit up to you to try to make some kind of relationship between what's being taught in the book to how you live in Guam. Maybe something that they can think about how to, what that translates into. Yeah. Well, I tell you, you're a pretty smart guy. I actually asked your dad if you ever planned to run for government office because, you went to a public hearing and you handled yourself pretty well. I was just wondering whether, that was, but you don't like politics, so you'll be a leader in somehow.
I should.
Yeah.
You know what I tell my son is that he's gonna change the world, and it's not gonna be because he went to school and got smart enough to create some type of device that everyone's gonna fall in love with. He's gonna change the world through his mind and his heart. He's gonna change the world by teaching people how to think on a more environmentally sound track, and also just to be a good human. Money doesn't make you a good person. I've read that money doesn't make you rich, right? It's having a good family and having a good heart that makes you rich. And I think right now Rob's pretty rich.
You feel rich?
Some ways, yes.
Yeah. Tell me just one thing that's great about your dad.
This.
Uh-huh.
That's a New Zealand hand tool
Yeah.
that a New Zealander, my Uncle Calhoun, awesome person, gave to him. And there are two meanings to that.
Okay.
I heard the story from him and from Calhoun. The first meaning is he can build, he's strong, he can work with the tool. And another one is he can build families, like how we brought the New Zealanders together. And then we made a music video in Italy with New Zealand and CNMI, and we got all the islands together, and it was not all the islands, but the islands in Italy.
Yeah.
And the song was about bringing all the islands together, and that relates to that, building families.
Oh, you're an awesome kid. You got an awesome kid, man. He made you a dad, I tell you what.
Yeah, he did.
I appreciate your time there, young man. Thank you so much. I'm impressed by you. I hope you go a long way. I know you will. I'm a little intimidated, to tell you the truth. This one's got one on me. Listen, we got another great father coming up. We'll talk to him after this. I want to introduce to you a local guy. He's been around for a while. Well, he's not that old, but he's been around for a while. Ching Batamana, he is the winner of our radio prize, all you can win, winner of all, Father's Day giveaway on the radio this week. And we were also moved by your story. Hi there.
Hi.
Big hug for Happy Father's Day.
Thank you so much.
We've known each other for a while. I've said on the radio that whenever I see you, it's kind of, you've always got a big smile on your face. You always have a really positive attitude about everything. So it didn't shock me, when you made the mention about it's not the traditional fatherhood, right? It's sort of non-traditional fatherhood of a stepfather raising another man's children is basically what that's about. Yeah.
Yes.
And you drew from that a positive enough experience that it helped shape you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I did. And the story that I shared with Travis was about the toothpaste. But that's just one of the things that he shared with me. And when I shared that with my sister, she felt kind of like, oh, okay. She thought it was pretty simple. But to me, whenever I brush my teeth, I remember my stepfather.
Your stepfather says, so you start from the bottom?
Yes.
Is that the guy thing? You start from the bottom, you roll your way up?
Yes,
Is that
yes.
a boy thing? Is
It's
that
kind-
like learning how to put the seat up in the toilet?
It's kind of like being organized,
Okay.
Like everything has its order.
Yeah.
And he was good, and he was a very good mechanic.
Yeah.
Excellent mechanic. In fact, I called my brother in Connecticut, and I told him about the little story this morning on the radio. And I shared with him that your dad, his dad, my stepfather, Generoso Manahan, started up my brother's 65 Mustang that had been sitting there for like 2 years. And he fixed it up because my mom asked him to set it up. And I was 16 years old. I had my license, and that was my first car, 65 Mustang. But because he was a superb mechanic, he was able to start it up just like that.
Wow.
Yes.
In what point in your life did your stepfather come into your life?
My stepfather came in when I was a little kid, like maybe, I'm thinking like maybe six years old, because I was thinking back. I said earlier maybe 8 or 9, but he was there when I was like in the first grade, when Typhoon Karen came by.
Okay.
Yes.
So he took you in, no questions asked. He just sort of assumed the role as a father.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, we never got introduced. Like, hey children, this is your new stepfather, right? We just saw this guy in the house, and my mom called him Hiner, and we called him Hiner, you know? And my mom never said, hey, call him daddy.
Wow.
But what was so funny is that when I was like 14 or 15 years old, I was a teenager then, and having a chance to go to Anderson Air Force Base with my friend Mike Pangilinan. He was a military kid. So something inside of me told me to call him Dad, and to let him know, because we normally don't tell them that we're leaving. We just, leave the house and go. Our sense of respect at that time wasn't, developed.
Yeah,
we just
sure.
didn't know. So I said, Dad, I'm going to be leaving. I'm going with my friend Mike up to Anderson. And he goes, you call me Dad? And now you're telling me that you're going? Okay, good. You better go. So he had a very thick Filipino accent, which is beautiful. I mean, he's Spanish, Filipino. He's got Chinese blood. Excellent.
Yeah.
Handsome man. Very handsome man. I remember him when he used to dance with my mother.
Oh boy.
And he used to spin my mother so fast.
Yeah.
And I used to watch my mom's feet just go like this, In those days, I guess they had like the jitterbug and really, really fast.
What was the greatest influence that he had on you, though? I mean, most boys sort of reject that male figure when it's not their father. You know what I mean? They're sort of...
Well, in my particular case, I didn't have a father. So I left I was 1.5 when I came to Guam. And so, here I am, and my mother's there, and then here comes a guy, and he's playing basketball, and he plays with us, and then as a kid, we're kind of like attracted to that kind of an attention, right?
Yeah, okay.
So he was like basically the first father figure in my life.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize he was my stepfather.
But he tried to be your father, though. I mean, he assumed the role right away?
He assumed the role, and of course, him being a new father, because he didn't have kids yet at that time. It's kind of hard to be a father.
Yeah.
How do you discipline this boy or discipline these kids,
Yeah.
But
how many kids was he raising at that time when he was with...
Well, my mom had 8 kids, but he was only raising 3 at the time.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
And
Manageable.
Manageable. And then because of him, he helped bring 3 more children from Philippines.
Okay.
Yeah, so we thank my stepfather for that.
Yeah, you had a lot of... So you grew up with a lot of kids in your house.
Yeah, and then he fathered 5 more kids.
Oh, my.
Yes.
He was a busy guy.
He was very
He
prolific.
apparently loved kids.
Yeah, it was great, and he loved bowling.
Yeah.
And he would take us bowling sometimes, and then I remember going to the drive-in. Remember the drive-in, Marine
Oh,
drive-in?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, shucks. We used to go there, a carload of kids and everything. $2.20 a car.
Wow. When, hearing you talk to Travis about, this, at this point in your life, apparently it took some time to reflect because you wanted to tell your story for this particular contest, and you wanted to,
Well, I just heard a lot of stories yesterday on the radio.
Yeah.
And I said, I'd just like to share my story about my stepfather with him because of the toothpaste thing. And that's just one of many, many things,
Yeah.
And I remember when I was growing my hair long, he says, hey, man, you remind me of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But he tried to communicate with us, and sometimes it's hard.
Well, that's another thing. Growing teenage boys, they barely paying attention to their mother.
Yes.
But he was clearly an authority figure that you respected. You obviously developed into a fine man with his guidance as well. You're very kind. There's nobody I know who would say anything against you.
Thank you.
You're a very kind man, very generous guy, and a happy-go-lucky sort of all-around, great guy. Was he involved in the development of your love for music and drumming?
Well, yes. Absolutely. I was thinking about that. And you know, he would sing with my mother. And they would sing like, like for hours. And they would sing these beautiful love songs like Perry Como, Frank Sinatra, and my mom would sing with him. And they would dance. And so I loved music. And whenever we had a party at our house, well, we didn't have many, but when we had a party at our house, there was this band, and I would just sit there and just watch the drummer. I mean, he was right there, and I was right here just watching him play.
Yeah. And so you got a lot. And did he buy you your first drum set, or did he?
No, actually, my brother was telling me when our band was like practicing at the house, he would tell them, "Oh, those guys, they're too loud."
Well, all parents say that. It's noise to them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of? You're a father now.
I'm a father now.
What kind of father are you?
Well, similar to what I came into my life. I became divorced when my children were 4, 3, 2, and 1 year old. And so I kind of felt what they were feeling, and I kind of understood how they felt when I wasn't there. And they're all in California, and I came to Guam, and they thought I abandoned them. And so when I saw them 5 years after arriving on Guam, my daughter didn't want me to return back to Guam. She just hung on to me.
Yeah.
And she's my best friend now. So she communicates with me about maybe 3 or 4 times a week.
Oh, that's great.
And thanks to Viber, we can do video calls.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, there's no greater kind of evidence to or testimony to the fact that you're a good father than when one of your daughters wants to talk to you 3 times a week. Most girls don't want to talk to their fathers like that.
Goodness. But she's like my best friend. In fact, when I got married, I asked her if she would be my best man, and she goes, "Yes, you better make me your best man."
Wow, that's so cool.
So she flew down, and her son was the ring bearer.
Oh, wow, that's really nice.
So
that's really very cool.
And she came just for 4 days, and she flew right back. And I said, wow, she made that kind of a sacrifice and an investment to come to my wedding.
Yeah. So your stepfather has passed on.
He has passed on.
Yeah.
And when I first came back to Guam, he was the first person I went to go see. In fact, he was divorced from my mom, and he had a new wife. But my half-brother and I, we went to go visit him. And he says, "Hi." And then he says, "This is Abing's son." That's what he called my mom. So I was my mother's son. You know, but that's the way we were, I guess, categorized.
Yeah.
But yet he welcomed me, and I really loved seeing him.
Yeah. And obviously at a time like this, you know, when it's Father's Day, you kind of miss being able to pick up the phone to say thank you for making me the man I am, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the fathers today have a great challenge. And there are a lot of stepfathers out there, especially on Guam. And I think that the kids kind of like to have to step back and accept each other for who they are and whom they're with. You know, we can't have a perfect situation all the time.
Yeah, this is true. And the cool thing about it is that to recognize that there are fathers out there who do this for the love of the mother that the woman that they've married, wanting to make sure that it's a seamless transition when a family is trying to come together and get along. There's a lot of men who do that without any question, assume fatherhood and try to help build a family, which is really cool. And it looks just like that. I appreciate that you've done this for us. Congratulations.
Thank you very much,
on your
Patty.
big win, and happy Father's Day to you. And happy Father's Day to all the other fathers.
Okay.
Zach, come on this side. Ralph, come over right here. Oh, he's going to kill me. Get over here. Now, these are the 2 guys, Zach and Ralph. These are 2 guys. Come sit over here. There he is. Come sit over here, because these 2 guys, every Wednesday, I give them all sorts of crazy instructions, and all the time they've been taking care of me. Happy Father's Day to
Happy
everybody
Father's
out there.
Day.